Good hello and welcome back to another exciting episode of Wargaming. Whenever. The most apathetic wargaming show on the internet. Running for, it's a new year now, so for a whole new year, so this is going to be exciting. Although technically week was the first stream of the year, and I'm getting all tied up. Tonight we have myself as always, because I am the microphone controller. We have Callum, who is almost usually on, and we have the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend himself, Chris. So we can't badmouth him tonight. Or we can just to his face, that's fine.
It's funny, I've never actually seen Chris's head before.
Well, now you have. And it is as disturbing as you had imagined.
He actually looks like my old manager from Harvey Norman, but not Ranger.
Well, that's
I honestly thought that's who it was
then.
when I signed on.
Glorious. So tonight we've got a fun show. Me and Chris had a game on the weekend, and we proved that even without Armor of Contempt, Grey Knights are still a whole world of fun. We've also got a balanced data slate, a Minotaur and Field manual to talk about as well, and I swear there was some other thing that I'd put in the title for this that I can't remember now.
Ark of Omens.
Yes, Ark of Omens. That was the other thing I put in the title. I knew it was something. And then for over-under, instead of flipping the coin, I've already decided what we're going with. And so you'll have to wait until the end for that because it's going to upset people. And by people,
like
I mean Cal. Yes, like Cal did this week. So we also have Cal breaking the internet to talk about. So that's going to be fun. But let's jump straight into games we had recently. Like I said, me and Chris had a game this week. 1,525 points, to be precise, of Grey Knights versus Astra Militarum. And Chris, would you like to tell all of the lovely viewers how that went?
I conceded by the end of, I think, turn 3. No, end of turn 4, because I had like 20 infantry dudes left. So yeah, that went really well.
And how much did I have left?
Pretty much your whole army.
Considerably more.
But hey, still learning, still getting there. One day I'll actually figure out how to win with this army, but you know.
I'm sure you will, and it's going to be disgusting when you do.
Well, yeah, it took me a while to learn how to do it with the 1,000 Suns, and then I just figured, you know, mass infantry, mass rubric marines really annoys people.
It is most annoying, all those rubric marines, which is why it very much upsets me that they broke Chaos Demons Flamers, but not yours.
Yeah, well, mine weren't quite as dangerous, you know. One less strength.
Still pretty dangerous, and with the removal of AOC on everything, they're more dangerous now.
Yep, well, you know, that AP2 is wonderful for those.
I enjoyed reducing that to AP1.
Yeah, but now you're on 5-up saves for everything, so.
But yeah, so basically for the game, we were playing Tempest of War. We drew the most ridiculous deployment ever. It's like a triangle with a 9-inch exclusion zone in the middle.
Yeah, so about a quarter of the board really wasn't used at all. Except for, well, we didn't even put an objective on that side, so.
This is true.
And then,
Chris, just make sure that you're muting your microphone, as we're getting a lot of reverb coming through there.
Okay.
Yeah, so there was the not twist, the other word they use for it that we drew was you could not use the heroic bravery strat, which never came in because not enough Grey Knights died at once for it to come in, and too many guardsmen died for it to come in.
It's a weird thing. I think that GW kind of they thought that strat was going to be used a lot more than it actually is. I've only, even like when you get into the higher ranked meta, I only see it very, very seldomly. And I don't think I've ever used it. I think maybe once with clowns.
It's 2 CP, isn't it? And I think that's it's just too expensive.
For something for like leadership where you can really roll the dice, unless you have something ridiculous, like if you're an idiot like some people and take like 20 elves in a single unit, then yeah, maybe that's not a bad idea. But other than that, it's really not as big of a deal.
It just doesn't get used.
Yeah.
But back to the game.
Sometimes I find it situational where, you know, you can stop someone getting the objective if you've got a couple of dudes on there. And yeah, you might end up losing them to morale because you'll lose one automatically.
Yeah.
And then, you know, rolling for those other ones that are left. And I have actually, you know, won a game just because of that.
Oh yeah, look, the situation can definitely come up. It's just I don't think it's been as integral as they thought. Like putting it in the Tempest cards, for example. Like if that one pops up and you're just like, okay, cool.
It's cool. That does nothing to this game.
No restrictions. Cool.
Yeah, I think most of the time when we draw that one, we end up just drawing it again anyway. So
yeah, I mean, especially given that the way the game goes at the moment, it rewards taking min-sized units.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you ever take a morale test, it's going to be like on one dude.
Yeah. And it also depends on the army you're facing. Like if you're up against, say, Necron or Bananas, they have like leadership 10. It's not going to come up at all for them. Like it has to be pretty ridiculous. Like I've made bananas. I've made one banana run since the new book's come out.
How many debuffs did you have to stack on that?
Exactly. I had like half an army's worth of like Night Lords and demons and bits and pieces everywhere to get them down enough that the unluckiest roll of 6 was it.
Yeah, so he still had to have an unlucky roll even after stacking debuff on top of debuff on top of debuff.
And I had like a -6 leadership after like that, and he still had to hit a 6.
Yep. Yeah, I mean leadership. I hope for 10th that they rework leadership to actually be meaningful.
Yeah.
But back to the game of Tempest that we played. The primary objectives was hold 1, hold more, and then at the end of the game you scored 5 points for each objective you held, up to a maximum of 20.
Okay.
So yeah, and then standard secondaries.
You can only get 4 for a primary.
No.
Okay, interesting. I don't play a lot of Tempest.
Some of the Tempest cards will say you only score 4 for each one, and then there'll be a second little primary, but not on all of them. Which, keeps the game fresh because you don't know what your primaries will actually be worth.
Yeah. That is interesting though. Like 5 points compared to the 1, like you don't look at it a great deal, but stacking just 1 or 2 extra points a turn can be pretty big by the end of the game.
Oh, it can add up, especially in close games. Like, I mean, that game I played against Mitch the other week, where the end of it came down to 3 victory points between us.
Yeah, Zach and I, our most recent game, same thing. We've had somewhere between 1 to 3 points difference at the end of the game, which is incredibly tight for a 9th.
Oh, it's very tight. It could go either way on one dice roll. Like, I mean, my game against Mitch the other week did go down to a dice roll. If he'd rolled slightly higher on his advanced, he would have taken the game.
Yeah. Yeah, and in 9th, we see a lot of 10 points difference is a close game.
Yep. So, yeah, having it come down that close is very significant. But, yeah, so as far as the game that we had, Chris tried to do the good old-fashioned hide behind the piece of line of sight blocking terrain. I did the most classic Jono thing with Grey Knights I could ever do. I'm sure you know what it is, Callum.
Teleport.
Well, there was some teleporting, but before that,
everywhere.
There was, because we decided that the theme of the battle was that the Grey Knights had come in to help the guard put down some demons. And they were totally chill with that. They put down the demons, and then of course you can't have the guardsmen knowing that we exist.
Oh, of course.
Of course. So had a ship in orbit, wrecked their ship, which was probably why there was all of the indiscriminate fire going on. So each turn, each of us got to roll 3d6, and on a 6, we got to deal mortal wounds to stuff. So that was fun. That was a result of the space battle going on in orbit. And then, of course, the Grey Knight strike cruiser decided to silence bombard Chris's home objective. Turn 1.
Which is, I love and hate the move because like it's not hard to avoid, but if you're playing infantry heavy and almost swarm horde, I think it's pretty difficult to move that many troops all the way out.
That was the problem. I did more damage to Chris's army with that one 3 CP silence bombardment than I did to his army my entire first turn. It was like, what, 12 or 14 mortal wounds, wasn't it, Chris?
Yeah, 14 dead and another 6 mortal wounds on characters.
Ooh.
So yeah, I'm under-remembered what it was. 20 mortal wounds in total. For 3 CP. That's some nice value going on there.
That's like Reese gets to run his Maleceptor Roar again.
Yes, but you know, you can't actually kill
but
this.
legal.
It just happens. But that's mainly because he bunched everything up on that, and there was a huge pyramid in front, so he couldn't go forward, and then there was a lake of lava running each side, so he could only go sideways.
Yeah, no, it's really rough when you're talking that many models to move.
Because
you box yourself in deployments.
There was about 50 plus infantry plus a few heavy weapon squads.
It was the only way I managed to do damage to the Calexis assassin the whole game.
Oh, how did the assassin go? I saw you guys talking about taking one in the chat.
So, Chris took a Calexis assassin, a Vindicari assassin, and an Eversaur assassin, and I took a Vindicari assassin.
Nice, approved.
So there was plenty of assassins running around, given that they dropped 10 points a pop, so we thought might as well give them a try.
The Eversaur managed to fail a 3d6 charge.
Oh yeah, that was funny. Dropped into my back line, decided to try and charge the Vindicare. Failed his 3d6 charge. The Vindicare turned around and put a bullet through his head.
Yep.
Which didn't kill him. So the strike squad that was sitting on an objective just across the lava river decided to turn around and put a I think I put all the storm bolters into him, or did I put the storm bolters into the infantry on the other side of the lake of lava, and then the silencer into the Eversaur? It was one of the two. He either took 4 storm bolters, rapid firing, or it was a silencer. I forget which.
Yeah, I can't remember which one either.
Either way, it was a bad time.
Either way, he got dead. Which was, of course, hilarious, because then he was still too far away from the Vindicare to explode and actually hurt it.
So what's the call, gentlemen? No AOC. What was
fine.
that
like? I mean, I felt a little bit more vulnerable. And when I do my 2,000 point list and take the Land Raider Redeemer full of Paladins and Drago that I like to do, I will be running a Tech Marine, just advancing behind it, casting Sanctuary on it. 4 up in Vuln. It's as good as AOC then.
Yep.
But apart from that, between the 2 up armor saves on Terminators, as well as, 3 up armor save on Space Marines are still good. Combine that with Tide of Shadows, giving them all light cover, unless they're already in light cover, and then they also get dense cover. They did just fine. I mean, turn 3, I think it was, Chris put his entire army, every single shot he had, into my squad of Terminators. You want to guess how many you killed, Cal?
2.
I mean, you're close.
5.
5 of them.
5. Jesus.
So I mean, they are more vulnerable now, but it's not apocalyptically vulnerable.
Yeah.
And I mean, if I'd thrown, because he did put a bit of AP into them, if I'd thrown something like Sanctuary on them, they would have been fine.
Yeah. So I think that AOC was a very lazy rule to begin with.
It felt very clunky.
Yeah. But I think we all kind of got used to it and it hasn't even been around for that long. Like half of the year, I think it was around for, something like that.
Yeah.
But it wasn't massive in terms of like system rules and data slates. But I don't know. It feels almost like everyone almost got fresh books kind of thing, because we're going back and we can look at weapons that like AP 1 and 2 that were previously doing next door to nothing.
Yeah, well, under AOC, Gauss players were bolters.
Yeah.
Which sucked. AOC was the final nail in the coffin that maybe put the Necrons up for a bit.
Yep.
But yeah, with it gone now, I mean, the silencer, which is AP -1, actually feels meaningful.
Yeah. And I think that's what it's supposed to be. Like, it makes invulnerable saves useful again.
Yeah, well, I mean, with my Grey Knights, when AOC came in, I stopped casting Sanctuary on anything because I never got past that 4+ anyway to need it.
Well, that's the thing. There's very, very few weapons in our game that have a high enough AP to really do anything through AOC.
Yep, which is probably why they decided to bin it.
Well, that, and they could afford to now that Space Marines, the 2.0 is coming out shortly.
Oh, that and the massive points drops that Codex compliant Space Marines got across the board. Well, actually, most armies got points drops across the board pretty much.
Yes.
I no longer have enough demons to run a 1,000 point demons list.
Which is strange, because demons you would have thought would have gone the other way. But in saying that, I have seen a lot of arguments in groups. Surprise, surprise.
No, you seeing arguments in groups? Never.
I'm usually the one causing them. But I forgot what I was going to say. But basically, like, kind of everybody taking, like, AOC just being taken off the board completely. It's a fresh game. So I think we've got to look at a lot of things. Like, a lot of things did have to change, even if they didn't actually need changing in the previous year's meta. But no AOC kind of thing. A lot of things have to be adjusted. Like Iron Warriors and Salamanders, like their original traits came back.
Yep. Oh, look, I mean, on top of that, it'll make demon saves feel more significant as well.
Yeah. There's a boost.
With AOC going out, you'll see changes in how much AP people bring. And they are likely to focus away from just volume of shots, because with AOC, your AP basically didn't matter anyway.
No.
You just needed to drown them in volume of dice. With that going away and going to more AP focused stuff, if that's what the meta does, because the meta is a fickle beast that no man can predict. I think it'll make demon saves feel more significant, because APs, if more AP gets thrown around, it will be meaningless against them.
Yeah, no, I can see demons going a little higher and a little harder this year. I can also see Laser Votan doing pretty well.
Well, Votan still gets AOC because they just got all of the good rules.
Yeah, but and that's the thing. Like, it's going to be really interesting to see in the next couple of weeks, when everything kind of comes back to normal and we start playing again, what's going to happen, especially with squats. Because they do still have the -1 across the board rule.
Is their whole range out yet?
As far as the waves go, yeah. There is supposed to be some new units coming out this year. But again, that's just rumors and
confirmed.
Rumor engined.
Confirmed.
Close enough to. Well, let's be honest. Like, we know the squads are going to get new models. It's only a matter of time, and it probably will be this year.
Maybe we'll see.
Even if we didn't have the rumors, that would probably be a fairly safe assumption.
We'll have to wait and see. Look, speaking of AOC going out the window and balanced data slates, that's an excellent, smooth segue, and definitely not forced at all, into the balanced data slate. So I will put it up on your screens now.
Are we looking at the slate or the point changes first?
Slate first, then we'll look at point changes in a moment.
Cool.
Get rid of that and that.
Okay, so this first page for everybody, it's basically all the same.
It's basically the same.
The only
bodyguard
exception...
is still fixed the way I like it, so that Reese can't cheese bullshit. I hated that so much. Indirect fire weapons.
The only thing that changed was with aircraft, they have to start in reserves now.
Which, I mean, that's fine. No, because no
yeah.
one ran aircraft anyway.
Well, that's the interesting part, because that's the Alpha Strike move for the Inari. It was getting a Hemlock Wraithfighter in there, getting it destroyed, and then popping up the
pile
Incarn.
out. Yep.
No, the Incarn, because when something dies, it just pops
right,
up.
of course.
And then he just goes ham on the inside of your enemy's deployment,
which is disgusting, and no one should ever do. Chris, do not get any ideas.
Haven't got a Incarn, can't do it.
Oh, I'm sure you
I
can
have
get
one I can lend you.
Send it to me in Newcastle.
It's not that far.
He's got to come up to deliver Zach's custodes at some point anyway.
Yeah.
I'm not delivering Zach's custodes. He's got to come to get them.
Well, look, while Zach's getting the custodes, he can pick it up. Problem solved.
Yeah. We'll do that. When Zach comes to get it, I'll just put it in the box for him.
But, look, and he'll hand you a box as well.
Yeah, probably more fucking sisters.
Oh, and Tao. Don't forget that.
That part's fine. Speaking of, check out this little fella.
It's an avatar of Ken. You know what's a worse model to assemble? And by worse, I mean funner, because I'm a sadistic prick. Illuminal Ceres.
I thought you were going to say magnetizing a vault.
Magnetizing a vault is a lot of fun as well. My fingers hurt after that from all of the little drilling and pinning stuff.
Like this, the avatar was a bit of a pain to assemble, but it wasn't as bad as the instructions make it out to be.
Oh, the Illuminal Ceres instructions make it out to be easy. It is anything but easy. There's a bit where it's just like, just push these two bits together and then twist one of them to lock in place.
It's like the cloak for the Death Jester. So you have to assemble like two parts for the cloak, and then you have to put it like around the neck, turn it, and then twist it under and over.
Yeah,
it's just so stupid.
Who wrote these instructions?
But how did these get spliced? When because we know they're 3D model. Who cut that thinking that was a fantastic idea?
Fucking Jerry. But back onto the data slate. Chaos Demon's got the most bullshit change that I've ever seen. I get why they did it, but this is the worst way to fix flamers.
Yeah. And to be fair, like there was only a few ways that they could fix flamers,
but just like AOC,
one. I don't think this was it.
This was the worst way to fix it. It's like, okay, you've got flamers that have the downside of flamers is it's a random number of shots. They just no longer auto hit. So it's a flamer that's not a flamer. It's so dumb.
What makes it worse is your weapon's a flamer, your unit is a flamer, but you do not have the weapon type flamer.
Yeah, but he's not a flamer.
What is? I would have been fine if they just made it.
I reckon they should have just given them the buggy treatment.
Yeah.
Just give it the buggy treatment and just be like, you can take one unit of them.
In saying that, what would have actually fixed it? Because the big issue, it wasn't demons running by themselves. It was when Chaos Marine players were taking demon ally detachments.
Oh yeah, they could have just made it so you can only take one of each data sheet when you take it as an allied detachment.
Or just increase the power level. So they're still fine points wise when you're taking with demons.
Power level's calculated off of points though.
Yeah, I know, but as far as like the demon ally detachment specifically, because it does have to be on power level, like I know it'd make it
it'll make narrative play not work properly.
Yes and no, because some narrative play is not match play ruled.
I suppose that's a fair point.
So data slate doesn't actually come into it.
That's a valid point. But look, as I think we're all in agreement, this is the worst way to fix it.
Yes, it was bad.
I like it because it doesn't affect the 1,000 Suns.
Oh, fuck off with that. I hate those rubrics so much. Look, that's fine. I'm just gonna have to get some more servitors to screen.
Duplicity and teleport both units in the first turn.
Heidi handy, I am Sandy.
I hate 1,000 Suns so much.
Because there's 1,000 of them.
there are 1,000 Suns, which raises the question is why did Zinch get them and not Slanesh? But that's a question for another day. Drakari, no one cares about. Space Marines.
There wasn't a lot of big changes.
I don't think there was a lot of changes to Drakari or to Space Marines. Did Harlequins get some big changes?
Did Harlequins get big changes?
In the data sheet, not in points.
Yes. So our 4++ has now gone to a 5++.
Ah, yes, I do remember everyone complaining about that and me thinking, serves you right, bitches.
It's going to be pretty big. It's more a points thing for the rest of the changes, but that is massive for us.
It is pretty massive because you don't have a lot of models to start with, and then they're going to just die.
T3 1 wounds. Our standard save is a 6, and now our invuln is a 5. They nerfed the hell out of light because of how well it was doing to start with. It is, yeah. That's it. That's going to be game over. So like we're going to have to. And I hate it. I hated how 9th Harlequins played because you had to play it. Everybody had to play them so cagey.
Yeah.
Because the weapons they all changed the same profile and they just give you access to a strat, which was stupid. And then basically Harlequins are you sit back and shoot till everything's dead, and then you run out and grab objectives.
Now they just sit back, shoot until you're dead, and then do nothing because you're dead.
Exactly. There's nothing. Harlequins have gone back to if you have not won in a landslide by turn 3, you've lost.
Oh, so they're 3rd edition Necrons.
Essentially, yes. Which means we only have 2 more editions to go before we get a massive lore change.
Yes. And they will become space zombies, pharaohs, things.
Space Amazons.
Tomb Kings in space.
Ace.
Death Guard didn't have any changes, I'm pretty sure.
Not much because I didn't see.
I haven't heard Zach bitching about it. So,
yeah.
Was this one for Chaos Space Marines in there before?
Which one?
The one for the Creations of Bile trait.
No, that's new.
That's new?
Yep.
What's that do? I mean, none of us play Creations of Bile, so I don't. Really
So
care
basically,
that much.
it's your fight on death stuff's changed. So just like
okay.
Dark was for Harlequins.
Oh, it's on a 4+. Was it?
Yeah.
What was it before?
I don't know.
Wasn't it just automatic before?
I think it was. No, I think it was still on a 4+. I think it still had to be. Yeah, I don't know what the actual changes. I haven't played Creations of Bile or looked into them deeply enough. I think I've made a list or 2, but that wasn't the main thing I was going for with it.
Nids have got a nice, half a page of changes there, which serves them right. Their book was proper broke from the get-go.
Jonathan, can you tell me which faction from last year had won the most tournaments?
Which faction from last year won the most tournaments?
Yes. I'll give you a hint. They have the largest entry into the data slate.
Was it Nids by any chance?
I think it might have been.
So even with all of these changes, they still win endlessly.
To be fair, I think they had just shy of 60 first place tournaments across the world.
That's a fair number.
Yeah. I think the runner up was only like it was Harlequins with like 23. I think
Harlequins
I want to say
steamrolled for a good couple of months.
Harlequins went ham when their book first dropped.
Which means no one that plays Nids has the right to complain.
Yep. And Nids have actually had an entry this big in quite a few of the last data slates ever since Stampede.
They pretty much got beaten. They got not beaten, but nerfed pretty hard soon as their book came out, and they still keep winning. They're not bad just because they don't auto win.
See, I think Reese would disagree with you both.
Well, Reese is objectively wrong then, and we have data to back it up.
I think the big thing there is, and an argument I've made quite a bit, is when factions start to win a lot and you see them placed in the meta for a very long time, you start to actually get higher echelon players getting used to playing a specific army, which previously it didn't happen a lot. It seemed to be every 3 to 4 months, everything changed so drastically that the meta players were selling their last army and moving on to the next one. Tyranids have been there for so long. It's just like demon players. Demon players before the book, they could win tournaments with what they had.
And their old book was rubbish.
And their old book was terrible, but they had gotten so good at playing what they had that when they basically got the same book but a lot better, they have just gone crazy.
Yeah.
And I think it's the same thing with Tyranids. Like Tyranids now have been pretty high up ever since, again, Stampede, which was before their book dropped. There was the White Dwarf update. So I think we now see Tyranid players have been playing Tyranids for almost 12 months.
Yeah, it's getting close to that now, which is terrifying.
And it has been.
Yes.
60 tournament wins, nearly 60.
I don't know what's been worse. The fact that they can keep winning despite getting nerfed every balance slate, or the fact that they keep complaining about getting nerfed even when they continue winning.
It's literally like for a week, they all complain, somebody finds the new list, and then they all play that, and then they all just say, oh, you know, I came first, but I would have preferred to come first by like 100 more points.
Yes. It's like there's one creative person in the group, and the rest of them are just NPCs.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Does that upset you? That should upset someone.
That sounds like Tyranids anyway.
It does. It's very on. It's very on brand.
It's one person, then the rest are NPCs.
I don't think there's any changes to AdMech. They get some core. And
AdMech was strange. They should have probably got a lot more. They were running raw, well, as close to raw as you could as of the last data slate.
And they were still below 50%, weren't they?
They actually went backwards 1%.
Whoops.
They went from 38% win rate to 37.
Whoopsie.
Yeah.
And
then so it was strange that they got absolutely no help in here at all. Other than their fight, they now get a 5+ invuln.
Yes.
So
which will probably help them a bit.
That may help them. That was the running joke. 5+ invulns. Sad react for Harlequins, laugh react for AdMech.
I love it.
I gotta jump off because my battery's dying.
Have fun, man.
Yep. See you, man.
Bye.
Moving along then. Sisters. I'm fairly sure that was still. I do remember that being there before, so that hasn't changed.
I think they got something taken out, but I don't know Sisters well enough to
Necrons. All the Necron groups I'm in are acting like the world is on fire. Not over this, because very little has changed here. Because it was in the last one that they changed it so the Silent King didn't get core.
Yeah.
Which, man, that is the way it should have been. Because him doing, like, ordering himself basically is really dumb. Almost as dumb as Imperial Guard having an order that allows your guns to become stronger. Because, you know, I order your guns to be more powerful. That makes sense.
Just do it better.
Just do it better.
It really should have been called Order Get Good.
Yeah, get good, scrub.
Yeah.
And I'm fairly sure that Orcs didn't change a lot. Tau didn't change a lot. Custodes, they've lost OBSEC on everything, obviously, just to spite Zach. I'm kidding. They haven't had much change here at all.
They got their OBSEC back.
So they did get their OBSEC back.
Partially. So obviously not on the bikes. Or actually, was it on the? No, it wasn't on the bikes.
I mean, it was just
core infantry. Yeah, all infantry.
So core infantry.
Yeah.
Gained OBSEC.
Yeah.
Oh,
so basically, everything that's not a bike and not Trajan Valoris.
Oh,
which, to be fair,
okay, that's how
they
got it on everything, because here's the thing that's saying all Adeptus Custodes core infantry get it, and then down here it's change Adeptus Custodes to Adeptus Custodes infantry.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So anything that basically had core on it.
Yes. Oh man, balanced starter slate. Not a lot changed, but also lots of things changed. So that's super exciting. What do you got next?
This is the one document that you can delete things from and it be drastically
Yes.
bigger of a change than if you added something.
I know, it's fantastic. I love it so much. Moving on to the Minotaur Field Manual, as we are starting to run out of time.
That's Chris's fault. He was such a chatterbox.
Yeah, he just would not stop talking. It was shocking.
Oh.
The moment he jumps off, we start bad mouthing him. Fantastic. Points changes. Space Marines got them. All of them. They got all the points changed. It's basically
see all that
everything.
Red? Everything dropped by a minimum of 5 points.
Well, every red is just a change. So
Yeah.
it could be up, could be down to the Space Marines. We all know it's down.
It's all down.
It's all
No, it's all down.
I'm sure it is all down. Where are we looking? So all of those down. This I was actually kind of surprised at. So Grey Knights also got a lot of points drops. So you know how Castle and Crow...
Space Marines.
They are Space Marines, true. So this is very on brand. But you know how Castle and Crow was just such a powerhouse of value? 90 points, and he just murdered shit. And even if you killed him, he'd kill you back.
What is he now?
85 points.
That's not too bad, but yeah, no, he didn't need to go down.
He did not.
Yeah.
I included him in pretty much every one of my lists because 90 points for what he can do is fantastic.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, what he can do at 85 points is the same as what the Master of Execution is doing at 65 points.
Does the Master of Execution fight on death even if he's fought that turn?
No, but the Master is just absolutely ridiculous.
Does the Master of Execution on a wound roll of a 6 deal D3 mortal wounds?
No, he does flat 2 mortal wounds.
Flat 2 is probably better. It's more reliable.
It's one of those things. Yeah. Reliable, yes, but yeah.
But look, I mean, even at 90 points, he was a powerhouse of value in my opinion.
Oh, he was great at 90 points, yeah.
Especially in like those 500-point combat patrols we would occasionally do, and you were just like, fuck.
How do you fucking deal with this?
Voldus went down, Brother Captain went down, Drago went down, Terminators went down from 40 points to 35 points.
To be fair, that's the average cost of a Terminator anyway.
Yeah, but they're all psychers. Strike squads dropped 2 points a model. Even the interceptors dropped 2 points a model. Apothecaries, Brotherhood Ancient, they dropped. Paladin Ancient dropped. Purifiers did not drop, which is interesting given so much else did. Either did Purgation squads.
Oh, okay.
So it was as far as the actual Marines, it was the interceptors and strike squads that actually dropped in points. The Purifiers, which are Crow's special pure boys, which I mean I'm still taking a unit of them to go with Crow just because double purifying flame is so much fun.
So that's the thing. Just because they haven't gone down a few points doesn't mean they're not good.
Oh, they're still good. I'm still going to keep taking them. They do their job very well.
Castle and Crow could have stayed at 90 and he's sort of been fine and you would have taken him in the list.
Yes. You know what the other thing that is not marked in red that was a big change with this though, because it was just deleted?
What's this?
Special weapons.
Oh. So you're getting free war gear as well?
Yes. So
just like every other Space Marine.
The only like outside of Dread Knights, they still have to pay for their war gear,
which is fair.
Which is fine. But it means that you're saving 10 points on a Psy Cannon, 5 points on a Silencer, 5 points on an Incinerator.
And that again for just about every unit.
And that across every unit. So you take 3 strike squads, a Terminator squad, some interceptors. There's a good 60, 70 points saved.
Yeah. Like have you had a look at any of your? Has Battlescribe hasn't updated yet, has it?
Battlescribe is not updated yet, so the list I used against Chris on the weekend I had to do by hand, and it felt
Old
gross.
school.
I do not like it.
I only have to do old school lists when a new book comes out. And it's generally only for the week because Battlescribe is actually generally pretty good these days.
I'm sure it'll be updated soon. But look, Grey Knights, I think points drops across the board. It's fantastic. As we already mentioned, demons got points dropped. I no longer have enough demons to run a 1,000-point list.
I think this is a brilliant strategy by James.
Yeah, just drop the price of everything so I have to buy more stuff.
Like everything cheaper, so you need to buy more.
Chaos Space Marines didn't have much change.
Like, could you imagine if they did that to Custodes?
No, thank you. But no, Chaos Space Marines, not a lot of change there. A few small bits here and there, but
Chaos was rough. So
I don't think I'd call it rough. It's just not a lot of change.
The big
Mark of Slanesh went up for some reason. I don't know why.
Because in the meta, that was the biggest taken mark because everybody was throwing Delight for Agonies on it.
Right. It was
so everything was getting a feel no pain. But the worst part, so people are kind of agreeing and assuming that Space Marines across the board have got a drop because they lost Armor of Contempt. Which, fair, plus that was shit.
Makes sense.
Until you get to Chaos,
which
who also has now lost Armor of Contempt, and everything kind of went the other direction in points. Abaddon is now, or Abaddon is now 350 points.
He needed to go up.
He did, and we've been saying this since the leak of the points value.
Yes.
Jono kept telling me for about a month that there's no way that he's going to be 300 points and do what he does. And then he came out at 300 points and did what he did.
And now they have at least partially rectified it.
Yeah, just as everybody was starting to look outside of Abaddon for lists.
Because they were bored of him.
Because I was sick of him.
Something I do find really interesting. Chaos Terminators, 36 points a model.
Yep.
Grey Knight Terminators, 35 points a model.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because if you were to just put the units head to head, I don't think anyone would really argue that Chaos Terminators are better than Grey Knight Terminators.
No, and this is the issue. It's Chaos Terminators have been massive in the game of late because of what you can put on them.
Oh, I know that
it's
what
their
you can put
options. On them. It's not, which is why I'm kind of almost fine with the points value going up.
Oh, it's fine. It just feels like a very roundabout, backwards kind of way to do it.
It's silly but this is what we keep saying. Like, you can't keep kind of comparing price costs between army to army,
which is stupid because that's kind of the point of having a points value assigned to the models.
Yeah, but you've got to remember the book internally has to balance more so than you have to balance it between the other book.
I suppose.
Like, Chaos Space Marines play very differently to how Grey Knights do, for example.
Very much so. This is true. Look, you're not wrong, and I'm not saying that they should be cheaper than Grey Knight Terminators. I kind of am, but also not at the same time. It's complicated, and there's got to be intricacies in it.
The worst part about that is Chaos Terminators have been amazing, yes, but it's because they generally get either the Mark of Slanesh mostly to get a 5-up Feel No Pain on top of a 2+ and a 5++. But they were also being given the Black Rune of Damnation, which was -1 to wound, which was pretty rough. And you start stacking all those things, and yeah, they're incredible. But you got to do that to one unit.
Yes, which is the bit that makes it feel a little bit strange just to put the points up. It's like, maybe just change some of those other rules so they don't stack.
Yeah, but I think that was the hardest part because, like, nothing actually stacked. It was just a good combo. Like a 5++ and a -1 to wound on top of a 2+ save, which is your data slate, data sheet, your 5+ invuln, which is again data sheet.
Well, just define in the core rules what buff means, and then just say that you're limited in the number of buffs you can apply to any one unit at a time.
I would have been happy if they had said that the Black Rune of Damnation could not be assigned to a unit that had the Mark of Slanesh unless an Emperor's Children
That could be fun.
Legion. That I would have been fine with that, and that would have taken care of a lot of the issues.
Yes.
But I think what we're going to see now is Marcus Zinch is going to come up a lot.
Yep, I expect you're correct on that one, and I don't think we need to explain to anyone why. One last thing before we move on,
Yes.
that I did just want to quickly touch on, if I can find it. That's World Leaders, that's Demons.
While you're looking for it, Farseers and Warlocks went up by 5 points each for no reason whatsoever.
Look, the filthy elves, they deserved it. Here we go. Necrons, not a huge number of changes, but huge changes. So the number of changes is not huge, but the changes themselves are pretty big. Warriors, 11 points a model now.
Ooh, what?
Death Marks, 13 points a model now. Death Marks, Mephrit, stack on bloody Talent for Annihilation. You're whacking characters left, right, and center. Tomb Blades, 18 points a model.
Yep.
So Tomb Blades are sold out everywhere already.
Yep.
Triad Praetorians, 20 points a model, still too expensive in my opinion. Doomsday Ark, 45 points a model, down from 180 in the original book. Ghost Arks, 115 points a model, so that's another drop. Monolith, 270 points, which actually
getting better.
Getting better. Obelisk, 270 points, still too expensive for what the Obelisk is. Tesseract Vault, 360 points. Do you remember? Do you remember what it is in the original book?
Was it like 400 or something like that?
500.
500. Okay. So this is what Nick and I agreed on.
Yeah.
The Tesseract Vault was good. It just needed to be dropped in points significantly.
Yeah. So it's taken another 40-point drop. So there is a very good chance that I will be doing Necron lists with vaults in them again.
That is getting more
so much fun.
Yeah.
So much
it's becoming
fun.
very viable to run now.
At that price, I'm happy to run that. Monoliths, I also want to run again. Obelisk, I still do not care for.
Again, like you said, 270, it's way too much for what it does.
It doesn't do anything.
It's not worth 270.
It's got a cool ability that only affects flyers. So if flyers were the meta, it'd be great, but they're not.
But look what's happened to aircraft.
Yes. So I mean,
they could have made Obelisk 100 points in this data slate, and we still wouldn't see them on the table.
Correct. And Convergence of Dominion, because of the changes to command protocols, they're not great. No. They were never great because the command protocols themselves are not great, but their whole purpose was to spread command protocols around, and now you don't need to do that because it's just like as long as you have a character on the field, you get command protocols everywhere.
Yeah.
Which is the way command protocols should have been anyway. But it just makes the Convergence Dominion. I mean, sure, it's toughness 8, 10 wounds, 3 up armor save, and 80 points for 3 of these things. But you can basically ignore them, so it doesn't do a good job of soaking up fire anyway.
I was going to say, like, that sounds alright on paper, but they're not actually taking up a useful role.
Well, they're a terrain piece, so they're not good for screening.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, they're not actually adding anything of value to your army.
They're not going to do anything good.
Yeah.
But look, we'll leave the Minotaur and Field manual there, and move on to not that. I think it is this. Is it in here? Yes, this.
Yes.
Arks of Omen detachment, 0 CP cost, very nice. 1 HQ, and your mandatory slots are any of them.
Yep.
Yes. I hate it so much.
Which opens up something really cool for elves. Now, so the void elves basically. Void Reavers and Void Scarred, their specific abilities on their data sheet was that you can take them, but they do not take up a mandatory slot.
Yes.
So you could never just run 3 of the Void Scared or Void Reavers for your troop slots.
Yes.
just couldn't do it. But now you can.
Oh, look, due to time restraints, we've got to go through this one really quickly, but there is
Okay.
one combo that I really want to try out with this detachment. Cryptek. Maybe 3 Crypteks.
You can do 3 Crypteks.
Like, you can do 3 Crypteks. 3 monoliths.
Okay, yep.
60 flayed ones.
Done.
Monoliths go in, flayed ones come out and chop you.
Yeah, I really like the Ark of Omen's detachment though. I think
it'll be
pretty
interesting.
Cool.
I have a hunch that it's going to result in some very plain lists though, just because in my experience,
1 HQ is going to be rough.
1 HQ is going, well, you can take 3 optional HQ, so you can take up to 4 HQs.
Ooh.
Which I'm actually kind of okay with, because that means for my Chaos Demons, I can have 1 HQ from each god, and then I've got enough slots everywhere else to have 1 unit from each god for each of the slots. Perfectly balanced, as all things should be.
But see, the other cool thing here is now that going into the actual detachment itself, you can put your Lord of War in there. You can put your fortifications in there.
You're not having to spend CP for that shit.
Yeah, which is, you can basically make almost anything now.
Yes, which is kind of my concern, because restrictions on things like detachment force people to kind of try and think outside of the box a bit more, and you have to weigh up different things. Whereas this, it's going to remove all of those restrictions, and it's going to make it easy to go, okay, well, the troops in my army are rubbish, so I'm just not going to take any of those, not worry about OBSEC, and just go with the, I don't have to, OBSEC's not important if there's no one else on the objective, because you're dead.
Yeah. The only people that do not kind of benefit from the Ark of Omens is Custodes and Harlequins, essentially.
Which, I mean, Custodians, no one cares about those, and Harlequins are filthy elves, so no one likes those either.
Like, literally, the only thing it's going to do is we might, and honestly, now that we have a 5++, we might actually see webway gates a little more frequently.
Yeah, it could be interesting.
Yeah.
But
when
that's
they
more
still
of
haven't fixed up the footprint of that webway gate, you can set it up side to side.
You're just going to lay it on its, like, big to take up as much space as possible if you can.
I'm just going to lay him down in a big X shape.
Oh, dickhead. Sounds like something you would do.
It's legal,
so,
baby.
Look, I think, oh, and you get an extra free 3 elite slots, but for characters only. So Grey Knights are going to love that. Because you could go full Paladin army. Yeah. Which I might try. That sounds like a lot of fun, actually.
So this could get fairly crazy for Chaos. It means you can have 3 Terminator units, 3 Master of Executions. And those things are crazy.
3 Terminator, 30 Terminators, 3 Masters of Executions,
and a Master of Possession.
No, 3 Masters of Possession.
And a Demon Prince.
And a Demon Prince. And Be'lakor, just for good measure.
I still have to see how he plays out, because he did actually get something for his Marines in the data slate, but I haven't read it properly. I haven't had much time since this came out, so I've only skimmed over a lot of things.
The same. But look, I think it'll be interesting to see what gets done with this.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that we'll still see a nice variety of lists and won't just see things getting shoehorned into the same thing, because people have these restrictions and you don't have to take troops, so people just want it.
It's going to be strange, because I think we're going to see a lot of spam lists. Don't get me wrong, I think we will.
I mean, look, this game has always been full of spam lists at a competitive level.
But I think we're also going to start seeing a lot more rogue lists, things that
I like rogue lists.
Couldn't go off because, they played great in a list, but after Nephilim, you had no CP. And it's a little too hard to start with 0 CP. So I think that we could see a lot of those rogue lists kind of come back.
Possibly, which would be good. I like seeing different things.
Yeah, me too.
But look, we've only got a couple of minutes left, so we will move into the next thing. And I should have loaded this up ahead of time. We will go full pirate. Yes, that's a rubber chicken dressed as a pirate. You just got to deal with it. So I already picked. I'm not flipping the coin. I already picked which unit I want to talk about.
Yep.
And where is that sucker? No, seriously, where is it?
What are you
There it
looking
is. This one.
Yep.
We already touched on it.
Yeah.
It's an underpowered unit, very clearly. So you get 3 of these Star Steels for 80 points. They're a fortification, so they're restricted to fortification rules for setup.
Yep.
Because it's 10 wounds, it brackets as well. And their ballistic skill drops. That's the only thing that drops. So, I mean, the bracketing, not that big of a deal, really, because their gun's not that great. Strength 6 in close combat, but it has no attack, so who cares? Toughness 8, which, I mean, that's reasonably tough. 10 wounds, 3 up armor saves. So, I mean, if you do shoot at them, I mean, they're not the most durable thing ever, but they're also not Harlequins with a 5 up invuln.
Yeah.
They all get a trans-dimensional abductor, which is the coolest weapon name ever come up with. But its range is very short.
I was going to say, unfortunately,
its range is short. The number of shots it gets is randomized.
And you're about to come to my favorite part of this.
The strength is rubbish. AP, I mean, with AOC going out the window, that's plenty of AP.
You've skipped over my favorite part.
What's your favorite part?
That the fortification has an assault weapon, so it can advance and not get a penalty for shooting.
Yes. Which makes sense. It makes perfect sense. They could have at least made it rapid fire.
So I would have been happy with rapid fire. That would have been.
No, they could have made it heavy so that if it moved, that it had to be -1 to hit. Oh, actually, no, it's a vehicle, so that wouldn't matter. I think rapid fire would have been funny. It has living metal and command protocols, so, I mean, that's fairly standard. When it's set up on the battlefield, you don't have to set up in unit coherency, which I suppose that's nice. But each unit must set up wholly within 12 of another. So, yes, you do have to set up in unit coherency. It's just stretched out to 12 inches instead.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, okay. When
which
friendly,
is still, even with 3 of them, that's what
that's
taking
a
up
big space.
What's the footprint of them?
They're not that big. They're like maybe 60 mil diameter.
Oh, okay.
But square, not round, obviously. Yeah. They're not huge. They're not tiny. They're fine. They've got an aura, which is an actual aura, so that's nice. They give friendly dynasty core within 6.
Extra leadership.
Because, you know, morale is such a big problem in this game for Necrons already, clearly.
You know what? I've got 10 leadership. I need more.
I need more leadership than Custodes.
It's
oh, look,
stupid.
I know. I'm going to take these against Zach just to be like, oh, I'm leadership 12.
I've got more leadership than you.
Take that.
Oh, do you have anything that needs a leadership roll-off?
No.
Oh, that's unfortunate because I've got 10. It's like you, I got 12.
Oh, and they have core themselves, so that will affect them. So they will always be leadership. Oh no, wait, they don't have leadership. Not that it matters.
No.
Actually, it
adds 2. It gives them leadership 2.
They have leadership 2. There we go. That's something. So they've got dynastic command node, which with the changes to command protocols does nothing. So that rule, it literally does nothing. And then they've got translocation protocols, which I won't read this. Basically allows you to use a cryptech to do an action to teleport them around the board.
Yeah.
Which you don't want to do because you want your cryptech doing other stuff anyway.
Yeah.
So, I have some ideas for how I would fix this. But based off of that, Callum, thoughts?
Put it into Legends. It's
Put it in Legends. It's a new model that came out this edition. You can't do that.
Yeah, you can. It's honestly, look, I don't play Necrons, but I've played against enough Necrons in my time to kind of have a decent enough
never
understanding.
Come across this thing.
Honestly, no, I've never come across it. But I can't really think of any situation that this would be useful? Not one.
I can think of a way to make it useful.
Yeah, but useful enough that you'd actually play the
Yes.
lists?
Yes. Here's how you make it useful. You take it out of the fortification slot, and you put it into any other slot. Or
Well,
even if you made it so that it's like the Crypto Thralls, where it's technically an elite, but if you take a certain unit, you can take one of them out of a slot.
Well, we don't have to really worry about that. We've got Arks of Omen now. Like, it is just going in.
No. The problem with it being a fortification is it can't screen.
Oh, you're talking about the deployments.
Yes.
Okay.
It can't screen. That's what I think it would be really useful for, if it was a screening unit. Because it's tough and has a decent number of wounds. So killing all 3 of them turn 1 or even turn 2, outside of Tau, obviously, is not likely to happen. Especially if you're pressing forward with the rest of your stuff. Which means, keep in mind that if they're shooting their anti-tank stuff at these turn 1 and turn 2, they're not shooting it at your Doomsday Arks and Molars and whatnot.
The only thing with that, though, is they have to. They're a fortification, so they're setting up. Well, even if they weren't, they're setting up in your deployment zone. There's not a lot that's got the range to kind of,
like I said,
hit
Tau.
something. Yeah.
Tau las cannons at 48 inches, they'll be able to. I mean, keep in mind that armies are deploying 24 inches apart.
Yeah, but it also depends a lot on terrain as far as that goes.
This
like,
is
if,
also
if we're
true.
looking at ITC terrain, they're set up pretty well. Like,
Which
we
is
generally
why
have
these
mirrors.
would be really good if they could actually screen properly. But being fortification, you can come down right next to them, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can.
I mean, no one ever takes fortification, so I don't know, because I've never had to actually read that
Yeah.
rule. But that'd be the first thing. I'd just take it out of fortification so that it can screen properly. 80 points for 30 wounds for screening. Yeah, I'd dump that in my backfield for the whole game and just leave it there. But the other thing I'd change is this translocation protocols. Rather than having it be an action, just be the Cryptech can just run up to it and zot it across the table.
Look, I think that's fair, because you're already paying a tax for having it there to start with. An action on top of it, I don't see what the point is.
Well, it means that your Cryptech's then not doing his job.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, why pay doing an action
So
when
you're
you're already
having
paying
to
the tax
bring
of having it?
another model that is the cost of this entire unit just to be
Yeah.
able to move it to do anything. And I mean, even before they changed command protocols, that was really shitty, because you don't need command protocols in your backfield.
No.
Which means you have to move it. So you're now wasting one or more 80-point units just to move the thing.
Yeah, no, it's silly.
So look, that's the changes I would make. Move it out of fortification. I would fix translocation protocols so that it's not an action. The Cryptech can just dot it around. And I'd probably look, just because it's funny, change the transdimensional abductor to rapid fire.
Yeah.
And then at that point, 80 points for 3 of them. Yeah, that seems reasonable. Because it fixes the problem. I'm able to then move it so it can actually do its job. And it's able to actually do a job as opposed to just sitting there and looking pretty. Because at the moment, that's all it can do, is just sit there and look pretty.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's still a lot of other things that you could take for the price. Even if those things changed, that'd be a lot more useful in a list than that would be. Like, yeah, sure, maybe if, like, with all the points drops, like, if you wanted to just add it on top of, like, your list that you already have.
Well, 80 points is not a lot.
No, it's not, but it's still not. It's not a useful. It's not an every game useful. 80
I
points.
know. I reckon building a list that's able to handle most things, because I mean, if you fight against most different things, you're going to be dealing with deep strikers at some point.
Oh, look, for sure. Yeah.
So having an 80-point unit that's going to be very difficult to destroy quickly, that you can spread out across your backfield with just the one unit can spread out like that to screen it out. That's really powerful.
Yeah, it's probably why they are in the fortifications.
Well, they're in the fortification because they look like a fortification.
That's fair, but it's also probably so you can't screen with them. I think that does make it pretty hard with a lot of fortifications, like webway gates, for example. Like if they decide to do the same thing, that makes it pretty rough.
Yeah, but webway gates actually have a use other than screening.
Oh, they're fantastic.
Whereas this, what other than screening can it actually do? So, ooh, yay, I get 3d3 strength 4 shots at 12 inches after I then spend either 3 cryptechs for a turn or 3 turns with the same cryptech to move them. Like, it's not good value.
It's not great.
And I reckon just, like I said, those changes, I think would make it so that at least it's getting towards providing some value. I mean, the bar on how to improve this is pretty low.
Yeah. Honestly, though, with the kind of changes that you're talking about, I don't think they'd stay at 80 points.
Even if they went up to 100 points with those changes, I'd probably use them. Because 100 points to screen your backfield reliably, that's a lot of value. That's a lot of value.
It is a lot. But I don't know. I don't feel it.
No.
Put it in Legends. Yeah,
you reckon just straight to Legends?
Yep. Not even Legends. No, don't even put it in Legends. Go put it in Warhammer Fantasy Battles. That's where it can go.
Yep, that makes sense.
Yep. The deleted system is where that can go. Straight
down the toilet.
Yep.
Oh, well. Oh, look. We tried to fix the convergence of Dominion. I reckon I came up with some decent ideas that I would take it if they put those changes in. Cal is not convinced.
It doesn't tickle any fancy. Even when you were talking, I was like, you made sense.
It's just not exciting.
But no, it wasn't exciting. It didn't grab me to think of what kind of combos I'd start running around it, what I'd actually use it for as a secondary kind of unit. Because as much as I build stupid lists, I like to try and have like a multi-tool. Like each unit has two maybe 3 things that they can do.
What if we gave it explodes?
Done. But like auto explode.
Yeah, auto explode. When it dies, it auto explodes. So you just teleport it into your opponent's army turn 1.
13 inches.
13 inches.
Yeah, so it's hitting the other 2.
That's oddly specific.
Because they have to be placed 12 inches apart.
In deployment, once they're teleported, they don't have to be that close.
Yeah, but how long is that taking?
Well, I mean, you get first turn, teleport it into your opponent's army, explode it.
Just giant scarabs.
Yeah. Oh, no, it explodes into scarabs. Instead of dealing mortal wounds, it produces a scarab basis.
I'm all for it now. Yep.
That would be fantastic and hilarious.
Because now it has a secondary purpose. It's screening and exploding into scarabs.
Yep, that's what the convergence of Dominion needs. Explodes into scarabs. Done. Well, look, thanks for watching, everyone. We will likely see you next week. Like, subscribe, do all that stuff. Let us know how you would fix the convergence of Dominion in the comments section. And yeah, we'll see you next time. Bye.